Forgot my keys. Wait, you know what? Was there something I was supposed to do today? Um, it's a nice day out. Kind of reminds me of Guilin a bit. Nice and tranquil. Wait a second. Guilin? Shenmue? Was there something I was supposed to do with Shenmue? Oh, yeah. Shenmue 3 discussion series. Kind of forgot about that one. Yeah, let's, oh boy.
What's up, everybody? It's James again, and welcome to part 5 of my Shenmue 3 discussion video. Sorry that it took so long for me to get this video out. It's been a crazy couple of months. But here we are. We have the 3 Dreamcast. We have Shenmue, Shenmue 2, Shenmue What's Shenmue, US Shenmue, and Shenmue. And I even have my awesome custom 4Voodoo coffee mug made by the beautiful Pam Marati. I'll link her in the description below. So this video is going to be about my thoughts on the transition between Shenmue 2 and Shenmue 3 on terms of, you know, just what to expect or what's going to happen now that we actually have Shenmue 3 announced. So anyway, let's get started, shall we?
Funky rhythm, one more time for the DJ. Gotta give 'em, Let me take you on a trip. Let me take you on a ride.
Alright, so here we are, part 5, Shenmue 3 discussion video. Now that we have Shenmue 3 on the horizon, it begs the question, it fell over. It begs the question that, what is it going to be like to go from Shenmue 2 to Shenmue 3 on terms of story, on terms of how the game feels, on terms of, you know, the music, on terms of the atmosphere. So, before we get into this, let me just stress there's going to be major spoilers. Super spoilers. I'm going to spoil the ending of Shenmue 2. I'm going to spoil the shit out of this series, okay? So if you haven't beaten Shenmue 1 and beaten Shenmue 2 all the way through, then seriously, shut this video off and go play them right now. Like, don't fuck around. Beautiful games. But anyway, so to somebody who has played through both games and has a general understanding of what the games are trying to do, let me explain to you how I feel Shenmue 2 would lead into Shenmue 3. So, Shenmue 1, as I've expressed before in other parts of the discussion series, Shenmue 1 kind of has like a feeling of, you know, I'm home, and everybody knows who I am, and things are familiar. And then when you get to Shenmue 2, you get an idea that, okay, the world is a lot bigger. There's an area that I'm at that I don't know, that's not familiar, and I'm treated like an outsider, which we see in the beginning of Shenmue 2. Because Ryo is applying the logic that he had in Japan in Hong Kong, which is why Joy says things like, oh, here in Hong Kong, you'll get, you know, you'll get mugged on the streets or killed in the streets or whatever, because Ryo's just like, oh, I'm just gonna camp out, you know, whatever. So, going into Shenmue 2, he feels like a foreigner, right? In the course of Shenmue 2, Ryo starts to learn how things are done in Hong Kong, in Wanzai and Aberdeen. And he starts to get more involved, getting further into the underground of Hong Kong to be able to fulfill the goals that he needs to do. And you see Ryo then goes and meets Shuing, and Shuing, in my opinion, Shuing is the person who first really starts to get Ryo to think about what he's doing and about, you know, the more subtle idea that maybe revenge isn't the way to handle this kind of a situation. Maybe Ryo needs to take a step back and take a breather and think and clear his mind like a polished mirror. So once all of those events settle, you get to disc 4 of this masterpiece right here, which Shenmue 2 is actually my favorite game in the series. Actually, I don't know, maybe Shenmue 3 will be. But so disc 4 of Shenmue 2 is when Ryo meets Shenhua, in my opinion, the most mysterious character in the series, and Actually, Shenhua is like the focus of like my entire Shenmue knowledge base. Shenhua is amazing. But anyway, so Ryo meets Shenhua, and Shenhua really starts to push Ryo into a mindset where Ryo should really naturally learn. So Ryo learns the four Wudu in, you know, the whole era of Shenmue 2 where he's, you know, dealing with Shuing. But when you get to Disc 4 in Shenmue 2, Ryo starts to learn that there's a natural way of understanding these fundamental ideas that are taught to him. And it's that specific idea that I feel is what's going to be developed in Shenmue 3. So Ryo starts to learn naturally, you know, what it's like to flow naturally in combat, what it's like to have a more mature understanding of the martial arts that he's learning from a more philosophical standpoint. And that's where I feel that Shenmue 3 is going to develop that idea even further. So it's that idea alone that I feel is pretty much the general basis of what Shenmue 3 is going to develop. If you were to look at it from like a timeline standpoint, Shenmue 1 is more like the prologue, the events that occur to set this whole step, or this whole set of steps in place for Ryo to fulfill this, you know, the ancient proverb. Shenmue 2 is Ryo starting to pivot into the unknown, starting to challenge what he doesn't understand. And it also acts as a vessel to start to teach Ryo that there's more to this world than revenge. There's more to this world than meets the eye. There is something going on in this universe that is not explainable by normal logic. For example, the whole idea of an ancient proverb, the idea of Ryo dreaming about Shenhua when he's never even met her before, after the events of his father being killed, which is actually very important after the events of him finding the Phoenix Mirror, because before he's finding the Phoenix Mirror, he's dreaming about Lan Di. After he finds the Phoenix Mirror, he's dreaming about Shenhua. He's being guided towards her. And so like Shenmue 2, like I said, is the idea of him learning that there's more to this world. And the ending of Shenmue 2, Disc 4 particularly, which in my opinion, Disc 4 is kind of like the beginning of Shenmue 3, for me personally. Like, when I break down the games, it's like Shenmue 1, Shenmue 2, and then like Shenmue 3 Chapter 1, like, so to speak. Like, I always considered Disc 4 of Shenmue 2 to be the beginning intro prologue to Shenmue 3, because not only does the game change a lot, like you start hearing changes in the sound effects, right, the QTEs, you start just feeling a different feel, and it's fucking amazing. I love it. Disc 4 of Shenmue 2 is just so surreal, which I actually have it right here. This beautiful disc right here in this Dreamcast. So, yeah, that's the general gist of that. So, let's move on to the music of Shenmue 3. As this series goes on between Shenmue 1 to Shenmue 2, you start to notice a difference in the music. Like, Shenmue 1 is a very Japanese sounding soundtrack, which makes sense because Shenmue 1 takes place in Japan. Shenmue 2 starts to introduce a lot of Chinese sounding music. I'm no expert on instruments, I'm no expert on music, I'm no expert on anything of that nature, but just from hearing it, it just sounds more Chinese. And as you get further into Shenmue 2 and further and further and further until you get to the fourth disc, I think it kind of sounds like there's a pivot, or there's a general development of the music from being Japanese into like ancient Chinese. Especially the Shenmue 3 Kickstarter theme. That is like the epiphany of like Chinese Shenmue music. That song is just brilliant. I kind of wonder if that song was made for Shenmue 3 as we know it now, or if that song was made way back in the day when a possible Shenmue 3 was being developed on the Dreamcast or the original Xbox, or both. So from a music standpoint, I feel like Shenmue 3 is going to develop more of the music we heard in the ending of Shenmue 2. I mean, that's a given because obviously, you know, it's developing further into China. So that's pretty cool. I'm very, very excited to hear about the music of Shenmue 3. Let's talk about the gameplay. So between Shenmue 1 to Shenmue 2, you know, there's a difference in the QTEs. You had multi-button QTEs, you had the ability to stop walking on stairs and just turn around on the stairs. Other than that, not many changes in the gameplay mechanics, Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2. Differences in the battle system. I feel like Shenmue 3 is going to be pretty much very similar to Shenmue 2. I don't really see Yu Suzuki changing much of the gameplay and the controls and whatnot. Except to maybe modernize them a bit, which would be pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, I think the differences are going to be seen more in the conversations because the character perspective system really changes a lot of things about the gameplay, which would be pretty sweet. So, aside from the gameplay and the music, let's talk about us, the fans. How does this affect us? You know, I'm not really going to go too much in detail on that because I feel like there's a lot of different ways you can go about this idea. But for Shenmue fans, pivoting from Shenmue 2 to Shenmue 3 is that's a pretty big deal. It's known that Yu Suzuki said himself that Shenmue 3 would start either in Shenfa's house or on the road to Baiwu Village. I believe that's what he's quoted to say. Now, personally, I would love to have Shenmue 3 start in the cave. Like the intro cutscene to Shenmue 3, I would be really happy if the intro cutscene was the ending cutscene of Shenmue 2. But instead of the, you know, finishing at the end saying the story goes on, it just goes on, like it continues, and you know, you start the game and you walk home or whatever. That'd be pretty cool. I would really like that. That'd be a nice transition. Just like a direct right after Shenmue 2 ended is when Shenmue 3 starts. But, you know, I believe in what Yu Suzuki's doing. I have a lot of trust in him. I've met the guy, and he really cares about this series, and he'll do it right. So, I really would love to see like an overlap though between Shenmue 2 and Shenmue 3. That would be pretty sweet. And, like in terms of from Shenmue fans, like I still can't believe that we're getting Shenmue 3. It's still like a weird mindset to know that, you know, Shenmue 3 exists. It's being made right now, officially, with funding and everything. It's crazy. It's like I'm so used to saying Shenmue 3 confirmed as a joke. And like, you can't even use it as a joke now. It's freaking hilarious. So. And this coffee is strong. Shout out to Adam Korlick, by the way. He's my coffee buddy. That's cool, man. He's another coffee addict like me. Maybe one day me and him will share a coffee. Ah, crap. Man, my what Shenmue keeps falling. God, stop falling, please. So, you know, it's so fascinating to me to know that we have a Shenmue 3. And to pivot from Shenmue 2 to Shenmue 3. It's gonna feel a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna feel a little weird because Shenmue 1 and 2 are very similar in terms of graphics, gameplay. They're very similar in a lot of ways, and I feel like Shenmue 3 is gonna be in a totally different engine. It's running in Unreal. And, you know, the graphics are gonna be more than likely much more updated. Especially from what we've seen in the Kickstarter trailer, which, you know, obviously doesn't represent the final product, but I feel like the final product would look more like that than it would the original games on the Dreamcast. So, yeah, that's so weird. But I'm so interested to find out what happens like with this game. It's gonna be so cool. Like, wait when Shenmue 3 comes out, I'll be right there with you guys talking about it, so. Right there with you guys, playing it, enjoying it, and I'm going to be hacking the shit out of that game to find super secrets. And even making my own mods, which I can't get into just yet. So, yeah. There's not really much more I can say on this topic. I believe I've covered some of the main functions. Like I said, I'm not trying to go too in-depth on this. Because I feel like, you know, you guys kind of want it straight to the point, so. But anyway, I'm going to cut this short because I'm actually kind of sick right now, but I really wanted to get this video out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love each and every one of you, you beautiful bastards. And as always, have a nice day.